Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Lucas Iveric here as always,
Hey guys.
and today we'll be discussing the possibility of Nancy Pelosi not becoming Speaker again. The Speaker election is set to take place on Sunday, I believe, and the new Congress gets sworn in on January 3rd. So this is very, very soon, and we're going to discuss the possibility of if Nancy Pelosi will lose her seat as the current Speaker. And with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, let's first start by discussing the background to this election. Or should I say the speaker election? So, the chance of there being a Republican speaker right now is pretty unlikely, but we can discuss the implications of the Republicans winning so many seats in the House. So, if we go back to the 2019 speaker election, what happened was Nancy Pelosi was able to be elected to become speaker, although very, very narrowly above the 216 votes in order to win. In order to become the Speaker of the House, you need to have a majority, and that means that you can't have a plurality. So let's say, uh, for example, I can't do math on the spot here. Let's say 26 Democrats voted against Nancy Pelosi in 2019. In that event, even though Nancy Pelosi would still have the most votes as Speaker, for Speaker, she would not become Speaker because that's only a plurality. She does not have over the 216 votes in order to become a Speaker. So after the first round, if after the first round, no candidate has a majority of the votes, you keep going. You go to the next ballot. You keep going to the next ballot until you get a majority vote here. So in the 2018 midterms, Democrats picked up 41 seats in the House, and during the Speaker election, they had a total of 235 members, or around there. And you would expect, most of them probably would back Pelosi. Yeah, most of them did back Pelosi. Now the problem is a lot of Democrats actually voted against Pelosi in the end, in the general election. And the rules of the House state that you do not have to vote for someone in the House in order to become Speaker. So you saw a vote for Joe Biden, a vote for Stacey Abrams, even a vote for Senator Tammy Duckworth. And here's the list down here. A lot of Democrats voted against Nancy Pelosi. And a lot of these are the more moderate Democrats. Joe Cunningham, Jared Golding, even our own representative, Mikey Sherrill, voted against Nancy Pelosi. She instead voted for Sherry Bustos. And we saw that a lot in the 2018 election, in the 2019 speaker election. And we've seen in the past elections before, we've seen Democrats voting against Nancy Pelosi. Now, I do want to point out that a lot of these Democrats here are the more moderate Democrats. I know I said it earlier, but not only are they more moderate, some of these people actually lost re-election in 2018. Joe Cunningham lost a re-election. Max Rose lost a re-election. Anthony Brindisi hasn't been the race hasn't been called yet, but it's looking like a possibility. Ben McAdams also lost re-election. So it'll be very interesting to see now how this might affect the vote in 2021. So Eric, I've pulled up the map here of the 2020 House elections, which were again very surprising. If you wanted to explain the results really quickly, you can go ahead.
Yeah, and not only will or should I explain the results, but I should explain the implications of those results. During this election or after this election, Democrats still have control of the House, but they lost a lot of seats. As you see, the Republicans flipped 13 seats, and that's a 10 plus net gain. And considering now looking into the House election, if a pretty Democratic lead in the House barely voted for Nancy Pelosi. Right now, when there's less of those Democrats and a lot of more moderates, she's probably not going to get elected in the first round. And if it wasn't explained already, how it works is that if you don't get over 50%, you go to the next round. And I'm not sure if Democrats are going to be willing, or yeah, most Democrats are going to be willing to vote for Nancy Pelosi the first round. And who knows how many rounds it can go up to. It can go on and on and on until there's a general consensus. So the fact that Democrats lost even more seats is not really good for Nancy Pelosi because if she barely won with a lot of Democrats in the House and now there are less of them, I don't know how she will be able to smoothly win. And also, let's talk about like her history. When she became House Speaker, she was, I don't want to say controversial, but there was a lot of unappreciation, fairly from both sides. You know, she was pretty unpopular. Like there are a lot of articles out there comparing her popularity to Trump's unpopularity. So like she's not even favored by a lot of Democrats, which is one of the reasons why they don't want to vote for her. You know, there was that scandal where she made everyone wear a mask, and then she went into the parlor without a mask. There are a lot of little things that Republicans really like to pick on, and the Democrats see this as well. And she's not portraying the House well, according to the Democrats. So I don't know how they will want to vote for her.
Right. I think that, I think this vote this time, and we'll discuss it when we discuss the speaker election this year. I think the Democrats will be a lot more unified in voting for Nancy Pelosi because they know how slim their majority was. In 2019, they knew they had 235 seats. They could lose like 17-ish votes, and Nancy Pelosi would still become speaker. This year, it's very different. Again, this time they only have 222 seats. In 2019, they had 235. And the fact that Nancy Pelosi only won the speakership by 4 votes over the 216 necessary, that's very concerning. And I also do want to point out again, it says 222, but however, two of the members of the House of Representatives, namely Cedric Richmond from Louisiana and Marcia Fudge from Ohio, both of them were chosen to serve in the Biden administration. So they will not be present at the speakership vote. And that is kind of concerning because that does bring the majority down to 220. And I'm not sure how Nancy Pelosi will be able to make sure that she only loses like through 2 votes. So let's discuss the 2021 speakership election. As I mentioned earlier, I do think that there's going to be a lot more unity behind Pelosi this election. For example, as I mentioned earlier, our representative Mike Sherrill voted against Nancy Pelosi in 2019. However, it does look like after watching the debate that Nancy Pelosi will earn Mikey Sherrill's vote. She said that she wasn't sure yet, but I think that she will be voting for Nancy Pelosi this time. And as you can see here, no Democrat ran against Nancy Pelosi. AOC came out saying that Nancy Pelosi was not a good speaker, not a good leader, and Nancy Pelosi still won the nomination unopposed. Kevin McCarthy, of course, he won it unopposed as well. So what I'm expecting here is probably a unanimous backing of Kevin McCarthy behind Nancy Pelosi. There might be, a vote thrown away from her or 2 or 3. And I think it will eventually be coming down to a second or even a third ballot.
Yeah.
Eric, do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah, and it's interesting to I want to touch upon the no one both the candidates running unopposed, because people understand that being the Speaker of the House is not an easy position, right? You basically represent the whole House of Representatives, and there's a lot of responsibility that you bear. And AOC saying, "Oh, Pelosi's a bad leader, but I don't want to do it," kind of shows how, she kind of contradicted herself there, saying, "Yes, you're not doing the best job, but it's also a difficult position." So it's interesting to see, in the future, who will take this very responsible position. And it's interesting right now to see that no one wants to take or, run against Nancy Pelosi despite her being such a bad leader, because they just know it's a difficult position.
And I do want to add that Nancy Pelosi did say that this would be her final term as Speaker of the House, and she would step down after this vote. And that I think was one of the reasons in 2019 how she was able to get a majority behind her. She said that she'd only run for 2 terms if she got into 2018. Got the speakership in 2019. That's how she did get the majority behind her. Now, again, I think this election, there's going to be a lot more unity behind Nancy Pelosi, a lot more unity against Kevin McCarthy. Will Nancy Pelosi become speaker? I think pretty likely she will after maybe the second ballot. I don't think it'll drag on forever per se. I think that at some point Democrats will realize they have no other choice unless they want to vote for Kevin McCarthy, but it doesn't look like that's likely because, as I said earlier, a lot of the moderates did lose re-election. So I do think that Nancy Pelosi will probably earn the speakership. This will be her final term, but it will be an issue in 2023 because in 2023, given the circumstances of the House right now, how it's this slim of a majority, and given that it's expected that 2022 would be a red wave year, well, we don't know that exactly yet. But if that does end up happening, we could very well be seeing a Republican speaker in 2023. And that is it for the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit like one. If you like our content, please subscribe. We'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.